Hey, and welcome to Borsellino Carpentry. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about how to start a new business, or how to start a successful business, or how to start a construction business, or painting business, or anything business, really. Basically, there's some things that you should know before you start that I think are very helpful. And this video was inspired by my super fan, Walter Jonkus. Thank you, Walter. So his question was, how about working through a new start business plan? This could be based on construction where you keep your distance from clients. For instance, fence building or fence repair, decks, empty home repair, getting it ready for sale, ag-related work such as outbuildings. I'm sure there are more, just my thoughts. So yes, I think there's tons of things, and I don't want to limit it to just construction stuff, because I think that most of the business advice that I would have bleeds over into all businesses. So this is not going to be able to be covered in one video. I'm gonna just kind of broadly talk about some stuff today. And if you're interested in any of the stuff that I'm talking about, please let me know down in the comments, subscribe, and like the video. I have been doing business videos every Monday, and my next whole bunch of videos I think are going to be on how to start a business, how I started a business, the ins and outs. I'm going to talk about insurance and write-offs and workers' comp and all sorts of stuff. So subscribe to the channel if you're interested in checking that out. But for today, we're talking about how we start a new business. So my business was not started in a typical way that you might think. I didn't run out and say, I'm going to start a construction company. In fact, it was quite the opposite. I was in construction for a long time, and I said, I never want to work for myself. I want to go home on Friday and not think about it and come back on Monday, and that's it. But about 11 years ago, this business kind of fell into my lap. After the crash of 2008, I didn't have any work. The company that I was working for closed down, and I started doing small jobs for people just to kind of make some money and get by. And so basically, the business kind of formed itself. I had moved back to my hometown, and word got out that I was back and I knew how to do this stuff, and friends of the families just started asking, and the business kind of started just happening. It just formed itself, right? So I came into it late. You know, the business was already going, and I was like, oh, I gotta make this legit. I need what do I need? I don't know. Do I need insurance? I need a bank account? What do I? And so I was scrambling to figure all this stuff out, and it's taken me a long time to work through all of that stuff. So I'm not sure that I'm gonna really talk about exactly what Walter was asking about as far as these companies in particular. But as far as starting a new business, I think, from my experience, I just fell into it and it worked. My business is very successful. I have more work than I can handle. I pay all of my bills on time. I don't know, it's been actually really good. Even though I said I never wanted to start my own company or work for myself, now that I'm doing it, I don't ever want to go back to being an employee. So very quickly, a couple things that come to the top of my head with this. Well, first of all, when I heard the word business plan on here, it made me freaked out, because I attempted to go to college for a short period of time for business administration, and I kind of failed out of college. And the first business class I took, we had to do a business plan with a group, and I hated it. It was the worst thing I ever did, and I was like, I don't ever want to see a business plan ever again. So when this question came up, I was like, oh, business plan, oh my gosh. But that was for making a business plan for a big corporation or something. It was way over my head. I had no interest in it at all. But working through a business plan for a small construction company or something like that can be much, much, much simpler. Basically, I guess what you need to think about is, how much money you need to make to survive, and then that will determine what you need to charge, and then you need to charge more than that because you need to make a profit, because when things go wrong and you have to go back and fix stuff and yada yada yada, you need to make a profit to be able to afford to do that stuff. I mean, there's a whole lot involved, which I'm going to talk about in other videos down the road. You're going to need some sort of a bank account, which you can use your personal bank account. What I did after I was started for not very long, I went and got a DBA, which is doing business as. And in New York State, it's probably different than other states. I don't know how it is outside of New York, but in New York, I got a DBA, and then I was able to open an account under the business's name. And what that did was the money came into the business, it went in there, and then it was like the business's money, and I paid myself out of that, and I paid for all the business expenses out of that, and that's how I got started. Eventually, I changed from a DBA to an LLC, so now my company is Borsellino Carpentry and Home Repair LLC. LLC stands for Limited Liability Corporation or Company, or both. There's two different ones. I don't know, it's confusing. And that basically takes the liability and limits it to the business instead of onto me. So if somebody was to, something really bad was to happen and somebody's house was to burn down, and the insurance company went after me, they'd go after the business first, and hopefully they would never get to come after me. Not that it makes me reckless or anything, it just helps add a level of protection to me personally. So they would be able to go after the business and the business assets, and that would be their first stop before coming to take my assets, like my house and my personal vehicle or anything like that. Now, another thing you're going to want to think about is insurance. Depending on the type of work that you are going to do, you're going to need to carry different types of insurances. I know, like, if you're building fences, the insurance is probably a lot lower than if you're roofing, right? So part of this question that Walter had asked about was businesses right now that aren't involved in a lot of in-person stuff, right? So the one that popped into my head outside of what he asked about fences and decks was like siding and roofing. Now, if you're doing siding, especially if you're doing roofing, the insurance rates are ridiculously high, way more than it would be for fences, because you're on ground level. I mean, unless you're building, you know, the border wall or something, you're on ground level. So to build a fence, your insurance is going to be much lower. Again, this all has to be factored into what you're going to charge and all this kind of stuff. So things you're going to think about before you just start going out and charging people. And they will all be very specific to your business. Now, I have done different kinds of construction throughout the years, and because I did do some roofing at some points, my insurance was higher. And now I have a policy that says I am not allowed to do any roofing, and I think it's 2 or 3 stories or less is what I'm allowed to do, which basically means I cannot get on a roof, and I can get on a ladder, but I can't go above a certain height. And that's, as soon as you get above that height, the insurance money goes up, yada, yada, yada. Now, as far as this keeping distance from people right now, it's been pretty easy, right? In New York, we have a mask mandate. You have to wear a mask. So when I go in people's houses, I wear a mask. You know, where I live, we have, I think, 0 cases. So the risk right now is pretty low, non-existent, basically. I carry hand sanitizer and wet wipes in the car, you know, antibacterial wipes. So if I need to wipe things off, I can. I've been working in one person's house for the last 6 weeks, so you know, the risk is pretty small. Another thing you're going to need to do is find an accountant. It is, I mean, before I started my own business, I used H&R Block forever, and it worked for what I had to do. You get your little tax piece of paper and you bring it into them and they file your taxes and you're done. But when you start your own company, it gets a lot more complicated, and you need somebody that you can talk to about this stuff throughout the year. There's all sorts of things you're going to need to learn about write-offs and deductions, and there's so much, and every year I learn more. I mean, I've been doing this 11 years and I still learn stuff every year, and that's why you need a professional on your side. Find somebody that you can work with year after year after year, so they get to start to know your business and they can help guide you through the tax freaking world. Yeah, it's hard, I don't know. And then I guess speaking of that, I'll just touch on write-offs really quickly. You know, you'd be surprised as a business owner what you can write off. The obvious ones are like a work vehicle, but you have to keep track of your mileage, especially if you're using it for work and personal. Then there's only a percentage that gets deducted and stuff like that. You know, my home office right here, this percentage of my house, all the bills for my house are deducted a percentage based on my home office. So my heat and electric bill, my cable bill, I can deduct my part of my internet because I use it for the office. So all that kind of stuff. Again, that's why you need an accountant. And I am sure there's like a million other things that I could or should talk about, but I can't really think of any. So I'm just gonna wrap that up here. Again, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If there's anything in particular you want to know about business, let me know in the comments so I can do a video on that in the future, if I can. And subscribe if you got anything out of this. And I'll do a bunch of follow-up videos on new business starts and this kind of stuff, because I think it's good information to put out to the world. Okay, see you on the next video.